It is good to be here in North Dakota, fired up. I know there's been some talk that maybe states like North Dakota don't count all that much in this process. Some people think the Democrats can't win in North Dakota, so we shouldn't be putting too much time in here. Some people think it's just a flyover state, that caucus states really aren't fair. Well, I tell you what, we didn't fly over North Dakota. We landed. We didn't write off North Dakota. We competed in this caucus. We won this caucus, and we will keep competing in this state all the way till November. We are now entering the second spring of this campaign. We have been at this so long that babies who were born on the day I announced are now walking and talking. But the reason this is no ordinary election is because this is no ordinary time for Americans. Yeah, please feel free to have a seat, guys. That's why you got chairs. This is no ordinary election because we're in a defining moment in our history. Our nation's at war, our planet is in peril, our economy is in a shambles. We have more than 150,000 Americans in the middle of two wars, brave men and women on their second or third or fourth tour of duty in Iraq, a place where we're spending $400 million a day to help a government that refuses to help itself. A war that should have never been authorized. A war that I believe should have never been waged. At home, we just got the report, 80,000 people lost their jobs last month. We've lost more than 200,000 jobs since the year began. Jobless claims, highest that we've had in several years. We have millions of Americans who stay awake at night wondering if next week's paycheck will cover next month's bills, who wonder why 2 jobs or even 3 jobs aren't enough to put your kids through college anymore, or pay for health care, or fill up your gas tank. People who don't know if their pension will be there when they retire or if their jobs will disappear, along with all those that have been lost this year, who don't understand why they're putting a for sale sign up in front of their house while the CEOs of the companies that helped trick them into risky loans are walking away with million-dollar bonuses. But that's not the worst of it. We've been through big challenges before. The problem is we've lost faith that our leaders can or will do anything about it. For too long, too many in Washington have been either out of touch or out for their own survival. They cling to the policies of the past or a tired politics that values scoring points against your opponent over solving problems for the people who sent you to Washington. A politics that exploits our differences instead of focusing on the hopes and values we share as a nation. We're seeing change all across America this year. Everywhere I go, every contest that we've had, we've been seeing record turnouts. People are paying attention like never before. They are saying that we are ready for change, we are ready for something new, and part of the reason, I'd like to take all the credit, but I can't, part of the reason that we're seeing it is because everybody knows that no matter what else happens, when they go in the polling place this November to select the next president of the United States of America, the name George W. Bush won't be on the ballot, and they are happy about that. He ran as a uniter, but divided like no other president. He promised a humble foreign policy, but led with an arrogance that destroyed generations of goodwill and good standing with the rest of the world. He promised compassion and conservatism, but gave us 8 years of policies that were neither. Policies that have led us to record debt and greater inequality than at any time since the Great Depression. So I don't know anyone who's going to be shedding all that many tears when George W. Bush and my cousin Dick Cheney finally take that road back to Crawford in January. But in this election, we have to ask ourselves, not just what we're against, but what we're for. What's next for America? What road will we take? What kind of future do we want for our children and our grandchildren? That's what's at stake here. That's why not only Democrats, but independents and, yes, even some Republicans, we call them Obamacans, have turned out in record numbers all across the country. It's because we know that this moment of great challenge is also a moment of great opportunity. We know that this election is our chance to start over, to finally come together and solve the problems we've been talking about for decades, to put America on a different path, a better path, and that's why I'm running for President of the United States of America. The Republicans running for president, they could have offered a different path, but their primary became nothing more than a contest to see who was best qualified to run for George Bush's third term. John McCain won that contest, and now he's offering 4 more years, the very same policies that failed us for the last 8. But we know where that road leads. We've been there before. And at this moment of challenge and opportunity, we can't afford to go back. We can't afford 4 more years of the kind of judgment that led us to invade a country based on faulty intelligence and a misunderstanding of the real threats that we face. We can't afford 4 more years of a foreign policy that asks our troops to risk their lives in a country that won't take responsibility for its own future, where we're mired in a war, that isolates us from the world and distracts us from the fight against al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We can't afford 4 more years of an economic policy that offers just one solution to every problem under the sun: tax breaks for the biggest corporations and the wealthiest Americans, people who don't need them and weren't even asking for them. That's what you've gotten out of George Bush for the last 8 years. That's what you're getting out of John McCain on this campaign. You got a problem with health care? Tax cuts. You got a problem with education? Tax cuts. You got a problem with the economy? Tax cuts. Poverty? Tax cuts. That's not a policy. It's dogma. It's a tired and cynical philosophy that says there's nothing this nation can do or should do for workers without health care. or children in crumbling schools, or family who are losing their homes. So we might as well just hand out a few tax breaks and wish everybody the best of luck. George Bush called it the ownership society. But what it really means is that you're on your own. If your premiums or your tuition is rising faster than you can afford, you're on your own. If the factory you've worked for 30 years closes its doors and sends your job overseas, tough luck. If you're a child born into poverty, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Of course, this doesn't apply to everyone. If you've got the money to hire a Washington lobbyist, you'll get the help you need. If you're an insurance company or an oil company looking to veto universal health care or investments in renewable energy, you'll get your wish. If you're a bank that's so big that we can't afford to let you fail, somebody might step in. But ordinary people, most of the folks here today, you can just fend for yourself. That's the Washington we've come to know. But that's not what Washington has to be. It is not the America we believe in. We believe in a different country. We believe in a different kind of democracy than the one that we've been hearing about over the last 8 years out of this White House. We believe that in this country we rise or fall as one people, as one nation. We believe that we can't have a thriving Wall Street while Main Street is struggling. We know that when there's a child in Bismarck who can't read, or a young woman in Boston who cannot afford college, we are all poor as a nation. We understand that we have a responsibility. We understand that we have a responsibility to the communities with empty streets and the workers who've watched their jobs disappear, because their future is our future, because their prosperity is America's prosperity. We're all gathered here because we believe in a fundamental idea that has always been at the heart of this nation's progress, that I am my brother's keeper, that I am my sister's keeper, that out of many we are one. We know now, before some of my conservative commentators get all out of whack, let me say very clearly, we know that government cannot solve all of our problems. We don't want government to solve all our problems. We don't expect it to. The American people are a fiercely self-reliant people, an independent people. That's part of what makes us proud to be Americans. We don't want our tax dollars wasted on programs that don't work. We don't want our tax dollars wasted on perks for special interests who don't work for us. We understand that we can't stop every single job from going overseas or build a wall around our economy. We are in a global economy. We know that we've got to compete. But that's not an excuse to spend another 4 years doing nothing. We can't afford to give John McCain the chance to carry on George Bush's can't do, won't even try style of politics. We're a better country than that. We are a better party than that. And that is why I'm running, and that's why you're running, because we want to try something new. We want to try something different. We are going to turn the page and write a new chapter in American history. Remember who we are. We're the nation that built the largest middle class in history by giving the greatest generation. My grandfather fighting in World War II in Patton's Army, while my grandmother stayed behind with a baby working on a bomber assembly line, giving the greatest generation the chance to go to college on the GI Bill, the chance to buy a home with an FHA loan. We provided a dignified retirement by passing Social Security. And we gave workers the chance to organize and unionize and bargain for a better living. We're the nation that pushed the boundaries of progress and innovation by laying railroad tracks across the continent, by investing in the promise of the internet, by fueling the discovery of the greatest medical breakthroughs in history, by landing a man on the moon. We're the nation that led the world not just by the might of our military, but by the strength of our diplomacy and the power of our ideals. By talking not just to our friends, but to our enemies. By defeating the ills of communism with the goodness of democracy, the efficiency of capitalism. By rebuilding war-torn societies, sending Peace Corps volunteers to the forgotten corners of the world. That's who we are as a nation. That's the America we believe in, and that's the America that we can be again. That's what we're fighting for in this election. That's what we're striving for in this election, to remind ourselves of who we are. In this election, the other side has chosen to run as the party of yesterday. That's why we have to be the party of tomorrow. We know our ideas are better. We know our policies are what America needs right now. And that's why no matter how long or how heated this primary contest gets, I believe that either Senator Clinton or I would do a far better job of leading this country over the next 4 years than John McCain. That is something we can all agree to. So I don't worry about the fact that this contest has gone on a long time. We're doing fine, and we are seeing enormous excitement in every state that we're participating in. But obviously, I wouldn't be running if I didn't think that I had something to offer that this country needs. I believe that if we truly hope to meet the challenges of our time, our party must offer not just new ideas, but new leadership. We can't just bring new policies to Washington. We have to bring a new kind of politics to Washington. We have to be the party that says we're not going to take money from special interests. Instead, we're going to take them on because we will not allow their money or influence to drown out the voices of working Americans anymore. We have to be the party that restores people's faith, that their leaders say what they mean and mean what they say. And they aren't just telling us what we want to hear, but are telling us what we need to hear about the challenges that we face in America. We have to be the party that rallies not just Democrats, but independents and, yes, Republicans to a common purpose. I don't want to just be the president of red states or blue states. I want to be president of the United States of America. That's how we will change this country. I believe we can tell the special interests that their days of setting the agenda in Washington are over. I've taken them on in Illinois and won. I've taken them on in Washington, I've won. I'm the only one in this race who doesn't take their money. So when I'm president, I won't be answering to them, I will be answering to you, the American people. I believe we can bring Democrats and Republicans together to finally make health care affordable to every American. That's how I expanded health care to 150,000 children and parents in Illinois. That's how we'll cut your premiums, stop insurance companies from denying you coverage, and give you the same kind of health care that us members of Congress gives ourselves. That's the least we can do. You pay our salaries. We shouldn't have better health care than you do. I believe we can stop giving billions in tax breaks to people who don't need them and weren't even asking for them, and start giving them to people who do need them. Working families and seniors and homeowners who are struggling in this economy. And while we're at it, I think it's about time we took away those tax breaks from companies that ship jobs overseas and give those tax breaks to companies that are investing right here in North Dakota and all across America. That makes some sense to me. We want the private sector to create new jobs, and I believe that 5 million of those new jobs can come from investing in alternative sources of energy, like wind power and solar power and biofuels. Biofuels grown right here in North Dakota that can end our dependence on Middle Eastern oil and bring down the price of our gasoline and give our children a planet that is clean and is safe. I believe that we have to give our young people a chance to compete for any good job in the world, which means that we have to give every child in America the best education this country has to offer, from the time they are born to the time they graduate from college. That means investing in early childhood education to close the achievement gap and prepare children for school. It means reaching out everywhere, inner cities, rural America, Native American reservations, barrios in Los Angeles and South Texas. Every child is our child. Every child matters. And I won't just talk about how great teachers are. I will reward them for their greatness by giving them better pay and giving them more support. And we're going to change No Child Left Behind, because I don't want our teachers teaching to the test. I want them teaching the same things that we all learn: art and music and science and history. All the things that make an education worthwhile. And I don't know about you, but I think it's time we made college affordable for every young person in America. We're going to put in place $4,000 tuition credit every student every year. But young people, you'll have to get something back in return. You're going to have to work in some community service or national service. You're going to have to work in a homeless shelter or veterans home or join the Peace Corps. We'll invest in you, you invest in America. Together we can march this country forward. I believe that the United States can remain that last best hope on earth. We can end this war in Iraq, win this war in Afghanistan, rebuild our alliances, restore our moral standing by leading the world against the common threats of the 21st century: terrorism and nuclear weapons, poverty and climate change, genocide and disease. We can do this as a country. It won't be easy. It won't happen overnight. It'll take more than one election. It will take more than one president. The change we need will take an entire nation ready to work once again, to work for it and fight for it, and most of all, believe in it. We know the obstacles that stand in our way. We know that from now until November, the status quo will fight back with the same old politics that seeks to divide us by race, by region, by gender, by party, the politics that uses religion as a wedge and patriotism as a bludgeon, the kind of politics that speaks to our fears instead of our hopes. We can choose to listen to all that. We can allow it to distract us from talking about jobs or health care or Iraq for yet another year and another election. Or this time, we can do it different. This time, we can choose to end that fear, to break the fever of fear that has divided us for so long. North Dakota, I love this country. Not because it's perfect, but because we've always been able to move it closer to perfection. Because through revolution, slavery, war, depression, great battles for civil rights and women's rights and workers' rights, generations of Americans have shown their love of country by struggling and sacrificing and risking their lives to bring us that much closer to our founding promise. And as long as I live, I will never forget that I'm only standing here because of those sacrifices. This is a country where my grandfather signed up to defend this country after Pearl Harbor, and my grandmother sacrificed. A country that thanked this small-town Kansas couple with a college education and a chance to raise my mother in a home of their own. It's a country where the letters and prayers of my father were answered. The young Kenyan who wanted nothing more than a chance to study in a magical place called America. It's a country where the improbable love of my parents was actually possible, where my mother could raise me without much money, but still send me to the best schools in the nation. A country where I've seen hope triumph in neighborhoods that were devastated by joblessness and poverty, where I've seen ordinary Americans find justice in a courtroom. I've seen progress made for working families who need leaders who are willing to stand up and fight for them. That's the country I love. That's the promise of America. And in this election, if we can shed our cynicism and our doubts and our fears, if we remember that we rise or fall as one people and that we can meet any challenge that comes our way if we meet it together, then I believe that this generation will do its part to perfect our union and keep our promise alive in the 21st century. You know, today is the anniversary of, the 40th anniversary of the slaying of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And there was a commemoration in Memphis this morning, earlier today. And I'm reminded of what Dr. King said late in life. He reminded people who were despairing and sometimes had lost hope. He said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." It bends towards justice. And 40 years later, he would look out over this audience. He would look at me standing here. He would look at the progress that's been made in America, and he would say, "You see, that arc is bending towards justice. We've become a more just society, a more equal society, a more fair society." But he would also remind us that that arc doesn't bend on its own. It bends because each of us are willing to put our hand on that arc and bend it in the direction of justice. And so, North Dakota, I want you to understand that I can't do this on my own. Kent Conrad, Byron Dorgan, Congressman Pomeroy, we can't do it on our own. We need you to put your hand on the arc of justice. We need you to organize. We need you to mobilize. We need you to hold us accountable. We need all of us to be better neighbors and better parents and better citizens, because I promise you, if all of you are engaged and involved, I will not just win this nomination, I will win this general election, and you and I together, we will change this country and we will change the world. Thank you, everybody. God bless you.